Hey guys, this is Joe from Analog Archive back with another video. The video today is going to be my finds for the month of August. As the summer has kind of winded down, I didn't pick up as much this past month. Found a lot, especially this month online, but continuing in the same direction. A lot of free jazz, but also at the end, I was showing a spiritual jazz record that I've been looking for. I've kind of held off for this. I'll talk more about this at the end, but to get started, so this one is called Das Hohe Lied. This is Alex von Schlichenbach. I talked about him last month. I picked up his 1981 record called Live in Pisa, 1981, where it was a trio setting between Schlichenbach, Evan Parker on the saxophone, and then you had Paul Lovins on the drums. This one, you add Alvin Silva, the great bass player, on the bass. So you've got Schlichenbach's on piano, Evan Parker soprano, tenor sax, Alan Silva bass, and then Paul Lovins is on the drums, cymbals, Segande Saj, don't know what that is, and then the Zither. So again, similar. This was actually recorded the same year as the Live in Pisa one, 1981, but this didn't come out until 1991. Same label. This is the Po Torch Records label out of Germany. Great fidelity, great, especially for a live session. Evan Parker sounds amazing on this, especially on the sax, and it really prominently features him on the sax along with Schlichenbach on the piano. So was happy to have found that one. Good way to kind of pick up some stuff. Next one, a lot more Peter Brotzmann this month. I had said last month that I was kind of starting to get towards the end of what I was interested in, but there's always more as I see stuff. Dave, VC Ambassador, pointed me in the direction of this one. This one was on Autumn Records out of Vermont on their Instagram page last week, and they happily shipped it to me. Haven't had a chance to listen to this one. I think this is the only one in the stack I haven't listened to, but continuing with Peter Brotzmann stuff. This is a later one. This is from 1989. His lineups have changed over the years, even album to album. So you've got Manfred Schuf is on the trumpet and the flugelhorn. I'm familiar with the name Manfred Schuf, but I don't have anything from him. I know he had some albums in the 70s that are a little bit easier to find. I think those might have been on ECM. I might be wrong, but those are, again, not terribly difficult to find. But he also had some stuff on FMP, so was excited to see him as an addition on this. You've got Peter Brotzmann, saxophone Terregato, Jay Oliver on the bass, and then Willie Kellers is on the drums. Excited to check this one out as well. So this is In a State of Undress. Next one, this one was on, I found this on Discogs, along with another one that I'll show in just a minute. This one is Emilgaard Mar Palace. This is a duo, so it's Peter Brotzmann. He's on, I think he plays a little bit more on this one. Let me see if I can find, cover's a little bit weird with the direction. So you've got Peter Brotzmann's on E-flat, clarinet, Terregato, alto, tenor, baritone sax. So you've got him on quite a few different brass instruments. And then you've got Willie Kellers is on the drums along with the vibes. He kind of adds that in on one of the tracks. So cool to kind of hear Brotzmann in a little bit smaller of a setting, just him and really essentially percussion. So that really kind of drew me to this. And this one was really great. So very happy to have grabbed that one in particular. This was another great, this was actually a blind buy for the month. This is called Joie Quintet. This is a 2 LP by Rudolf Carl. So the 2 LPs are composed of just 2 different tracks, one on each LP. So essentially one LP is one track, and then the second LP is the second track. It's got definitely a free jazz leaning sound to it, especially when Rudolf Carl comes in on the saxophone. but the addition of, I don't know if it says on the back, no it doesn't, there's a violin player that features on this. It's actually pretty prominent, whether they're soloing or they're just in the background. You can definitely hear that throughout most of the album. That gives it a little bit more of almost like this classical type sound to it. Really, really cool sounding element to it. So I'm very happy to have grabbed this. Definitely a unique listen, but a really, really great one as well. That was one of my favorite finds for the month. This is what I just talked about a minute ago. This one went with the Emilgaard Peter Brotzmann one. This is called Pika Pika. This is a trio. You've got Peter Brotzmann, alto, tenor, baritone, sax, along with Teragato. Albert Mangelsdorf is on the trombone, and then you've got Gunter Sommer is on drums, along with the horns. Peter Brotzmann and Mangelsdorf have played together dating back to the early 70s. There were 3 albums that came out in a row. It was like an orange cover, green cover, black cover. I have the orange and the green one that I talked about, I think in June, and then actually July's video for each of them. So him and Mangelsdorf have worked together. They also worked on, they were together on Outspan #1, which came out in like the mid-70s. It was like 74, 75. So they definitely worked together, and that is definitely evident on this album. This one was not my favorite of the Brotzmann albums that I own. It was a cool one, but not one that I think I would reach for too much. So that one, Pika Pika is the name of that. This one was a recommendation from Dave, VC Ambassador. This is Last Home, Caspar Brotzmann, Peter Brotzmann. So it's kind of father-son. Peter Brotzmann is on the saxophone. On this one, he plays E-flat clarinet, Teragato, bass, and tenor sax. He does a few tracks, like 2 or 3 tracks, where he plays the bass sax, which if you've not heard that before, very, very low register, very low end of a saxophone. Kind of definitely a very interesting sound to it. And then you've got Caspar Brotzmann's on the guitar. And this one, a little bit different of a sound. It's a little bit more distorted. And that was, I think, just kind of Caspar Brotzmann's tone. But you definitely still hear the free jazz elements to it. This was a cool one. I got this from somebody in Canada. This is tough to find in the US. This is from 1990, so again, getting a little bit, I would say probably for Peter Brotzmann, probably maybe mid-era at this point, but it was a cool one to grab. So thanks, Dave, for that recommendation. Next one. This one actually came from Tom at the Bop Shop, his collection. Talked about that back in June. He had a kind of sale of some of his stuff that he no longer listened to anymore, and this one was included in it. This one had been sitting in the bins since June, and I just kept passing on it, but especially this past month, getting more into Evan Parker. He features on this just the soprano sax, and then you've got John Stevens on percussion / cornet. This is on the Ogun label. It's kind of cool label. This is from the late 70s, 78 this came out. There's also a volume 1. Like to find it has a blue cover to it. Similar image, but different cover. This was a great free jazz one, so was happy to grab that. This one I had seen. This one was also from the Bop Shop. I had seen this in the bins for a while, and I wasn't really sure what it is. I put it on the turntable and really loved what I heard. It was kind of right in that free jazz lane that I'm interested in. I'm not familiar with any of the players on this. This is from 2011, and I think it came out maybe, it said it was mixed and mastered in January 2013, so it probably came out shortly after that. But it really kind of interesting cover. I'll zoom in, you can kind of see that. So this one is called the Bureau of Atomic Tourism. The name of the group is Arco Idaho. And don't know anything about it, but kind of a cool free jazz album. Next one, this is I think the last, this is the last Peter Brotzmann one. This is actually the first one that I picked up this month. This is called The Nearer the Bone, the Sweeter the Meat. So you've got Peter Brotzmann is on E flat, A flat, and bass clarinet, soprano, alto, tenor sax. So he's definitely pulling out all the reeds for this one. Harry Miller's on the bass, and then Louis Maholo is on the drums. This is from 1979. This is a really cool color. I like the kind of the colors that were used for this, and then the back also has some great images to it as well. This is also on the F&P label. Live session for this one, different sound, but was really cool. So I grabbed that. It was in really, really great condition. It was probably one of the nicest F&Ps that I found. This one was definitely the most surprising find of the month. I didn't really know what to kind of make of it, and it was, I was able to listen to a few tracks before I purchased it, but based on the tracks, it kind of gave me this impression that it was going to be very minimal when it came to the playing. So this is called Deep Voices, and this is a duo between Norbert Moschlang and Andy Gould. So you've got Norbert Moschlang is on soprano, contrabass, clarinet, horn, and homemade instruments. And then Andy Gould is on percussions, double bass, bass clarinet, homemade instruments, tape recorder. So just based off of kind of the instruments that are being played, seems very abstract. But I was very pleasantly surprised how much I loved it. It did have points where there was very minimal kind of playing, especially from Moschlang, kind of just soft playing into his horn, but it also really heated up at times as well. So really happy to pick up this one, add another F&P to the collection. This is one of the few records that the duo did where it was kind of a free jazz type album. They had quite a few albums in the 80s that were more like electronics, where both of them played just like synthesizers, or they just kind of messed with like electronics devices to kind of create music. Those are much different than this. You don't get any of that, but again, very, very happy to have grabbed that. It was one of my favorite also finds for the month. This is the last one. Talked about this at the beginning. This is a spiritual jazz record that I've been looking for a while. I've been holding off to find an original, or at least like a 70s pressing of this, and it showed up in a collection at the Bop Shop last week. And so I jumped on it, and that is Journey into Satchidananda, Alice Coltrane featuring Pharoah Sanders. So you've got Alice Coltrane, harp, piano, Pharoah Sanders, soprano sax, Tulsi is on the tambura, Vishnu Wood is on the oud, Cecil McBee bass, Charlie Hayden bass. Charlie Hayden only plays the bass on the last track. Rashid Ali is on the drums, and then Majid Shabazz is on the bells and the tambourine. Really, really great spiritual jazz. If that could be defined by one record, I would say this one. You've just got this airy atmosphere to the recording. Alice is great on the harp especially. Just this really, really, again, spiritual, very almost like out of this world type sound from it. Pharoah Sanders, for me, is the highlight of the album. I just love how he weaves in between Alice Coltrane's piano or harp playing. He only features on the soprano sax, so you get that a little bit higher register saxophone sound to it, and it's just very masterfully done. Really, really happy to have found this. This is an original pressing on the Impulse label, early 70s, 1971. So I'm glad that I held off on a pressing to find this original. So that was the last find for the month. If you enjoyed this video, please think about liking and subscribing. And I will see you in the next vinyl video. Bye.